Hello, this is week 15, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so I can talk about what you're going to work on this week. So before Thanksgiving, you worked on an integrated thematic unit and did an anticipatory web to go with that. Well, and most classrooms that you're going to work in, you're going to do thematic units. However, there are some schools where you work on projects, and projects are different from thematic units. And sometimes you can coordinate it so you can do both. But there are a few ways that projects and thematic units are different. So I'm just going to go over it. This PowerPoint is available to you on Blackboard, but there's some things I want to point out. A project is really an in-depth unit of study, but they differ from thematic units because projects can last all year or maybe several months. In a thematic unit, the teacher determines the topics. But in a project, those topics come from the kids. They come from questions that the children have. In a thematic unit, the teacher plans all of the learning experiences. In a project, the learning experiences come from children's interests, from their questions. In the thematic unit, all knowledge is gained through those teacher-planned experiences. In a project, knowledge is gained by problem solving. The problems are the questions that the children have. Some additional differences: in a thematic unit, all resources are provided by the teacher. In a project, resources can be brought in by children. They can be brought in by visiting experts. They can be gathered on site. They're oftentimes provided by parents. Thematic unit, you're not going to have a field trip for the vast majority of your thematic units. In projects, field trips occur early on in every project. And the field trip doesn't have to be necessarily where you get on a school bus and travel someplace. A field trip can be having a visiting expert bring in something. For instance, if you're doing a project on boa constrictors, you would have a visiting expert bring in a boa constrictor to the classroom. That's your field trip. And everyone there would have the same experience and the same opportunities to ask questions and, touch the boa constrictor and so on and so forth. In a thematic unit, the teacher determines when the topic is taught during the day. In a project, it kind of permeates all classroom activities as the children are working on them. In a thematic unit, representation activities occur once. So say, for instance, you're doing a lesson on whales. Well, they would draw a picture of the whale one time, or write a story about a whale one time. In a project, they might repeat representation activities in stages along the road to determine how much knowledge has been learned on that particular topic. So why would you use it? Well, it really allows children to investigate real-world experiences and questions and problems. It's a great way for them to work together cooperatively, and it's certainly a wonderful way to incorporate all of the multiple intelligences into learning. It's also a terrific way to include children with different capabilities. You may have children with special needs who are very good at certain things and yet have difficulty with others. It's definitely a constructivist approach because children are deeply involved in constructing their own knowledge. It's developmentally appropriate. It definitely lends itself to a multi-age curriculum sort of classroom. Inclusion is very easy to accomplish in a project approach classroom. Children work very autonomously because they're answering their own questions. And since they're answering their own questions, they're highly motivated. So projects come in 3 phases, where you begin with phase 1. And my computer here got stuck. Okay, here's the beginning of the project. As with any other topic, you have to determine, is this age appropriate? Will girls and boys be interested? And does it address the interests, talents, and needs of the children in that classroom? And, topics can be kind of tricky to come up with, because when you start talking to children about, well, what would you like to learn more about? You're liable to get a whole list of items, but some of it is not going to lend itself to good, deep inquiry. Say, for instance, you have kids yelling out things like, I want to know about Pokemon, or I want to know about Barbie. Well, that's all very interesting topics, but they're not going to lend themselves well to including the state standards and learning them. So you will have to be the determiner of what projects are worked on. Also, you'll have to think about what is appropriate for the geographic setting of the classroom. For instance, you might have one child bring up the topic of ice fishing. They might be from up in Minnesota and might have experienced that. But working on that in Tulsa, Oklahoma does not lend itself well to all the other children in the classroom, because it's not the right setting. So think about what the setting for the classroom is before you set up a project. And I know this says meeting the PASS objectives. Back when I made this PowerPoint, we were using PASS. I know we're on OAS. By next year, I'm not sure where we're going to be, but meet your state objectives. I'll let you read through that. You will definitely, during phase 1, need to find out what the children already know about the topic, and come up with a list of questions that they want to learn more about, because that's going to tell you where to go with this particular project. And then you personally create a detailed anticipatory web. This is not something you do with the children. This is something you do once you get home. Because as you can see, the kids in this classroom wanted to learn more about pets, but then it's the teacher's job to come up with all the different areas this particular project can go into, because you want to cover your science standards, you want to cover your math standards, you want to cover your language arts standards, and so on and so forth. So the webbing is for you, because you want to know, where do these questions that the children have fit within the standards. In phase 1, you're going to have to figure out what firsthand experiences are available. Do you have some visiting expert that you can bring in? Is there somewhere the children can walk to see whatever they're learning about? Is it possible to take a field trip? So there you have that. And then what new understandings will come from these experiences? How will curriculum goals be met? And how can the work be diversified to meet the needs of individuals and their interests too? So this is the beginning. Phase 2, if you haven't had a field trip yet, this is where you take it. This is where children make sketches and take notes on the questions that they had. Includes follow-up discussion. Children can elaborate and make further sketches when they have more information. Phase 2 may include visiting experts, being interviewed by the children, and children engaging in long-term work integrated across all curricular areas. Phase 2 includes the creation of representations of new learning, whether it's written or drawing, or working in clay, or whatever else you want to use to represent what was learned. Then once you're done doing all the investigating, answering all the questions, you need to document the new knowledge. And this is done on documentation panels, the title of the project, and then lots and lots of photos of what the children were working on, labeled so that the new knowledge is very obvious. You can include pictures of things the children made. And phase 3 is the culminating event where the children share with others what has been learned. They might share with family members who come in to pick them up at the end of the school day. They might share with the classroom next door, whatever, but they need to share this new knowledge. And that is basically the project approach. Let me go ahead and get out of this. All right. So you're going to read Reflecting on the Fish Tank. There's going to be a video for you to watch, and it's called the Fire Truck Video. And this is about 45 minutes long, but honestly, this video is the best project example that you can watch. It gives you a really detailed look, start to finish, of what a project looks like in an early childhood classroom. It's an absolute classic. Then you're going to go ahead and do reading response number 4, which is right in here. And this is based on the video here and the readings. So you're going to talk about, after watching all this and reading the article, what observations can you make about children's motivation and learning while engaged in projects? And what are some ways the project approach differs from traditional thematic units? So that is for this week. The week after, you're going to have your final exam. And this is an open book exam that covers the whole semester. Totally open book though, so nothing to worry about. The only difference from other assignments is that the test will close at 11:59 on Friday, because that's when the semester ends at midnight. So everything will be shut down then. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I will be happy to meet with you on Zoom. If you don't, that's fine. I hope you have a great holiday. I hope you have a wonderful winter break, and I hope to see a lot of you in the spring. Bye.